Get started. All right, I'm good. All right, good evening and welcome to this Tuesday, November 15th, 2022 meeting of the Raymore Planning and Zoning Commission. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, go through roll call real quick here. Looks like Commissioner Bowie's not here. Commissioner Ingert.
Present.
Commissioner Faulkner.
Present.
Vice Chair Fizer.
Present.
Commissioner Manser's not here. Secretary Peterman.
Here.
Commissioner Key is not here. Mayor Turnbow.
Present.
And Chairman Wiggins is here. We've got 6 tonight, so we're good. We have no personal appearances scheduled tonight, so we will move into the consent agenda, the approval of minutes from the November 1st, 2022 meeting.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Faulkner.
I move to approve the minutes from our October 4th, 2022 meeting with 3 minor corrections.
Go ahead with, do you want to state those now or wait for a second?
Can I do that in consent? Thank you.
Thank you.
So, and these were verified off of the video, by the way. So under item 5A, approval, and I apologize, the motion I stated should have been to approve minutes of our Tuesday, November 1st, 2022 meeting. The first correction was under item 5A, approval of minutes from October 4th. Commissioner Manser abstained rather than I, and so that changes the count to 601.
Yes, sir.
The second minor was at the end of case, this would be 7C, Starbucks site plan, case 22026. Commissioner Bowie's motion included with 12 conditions, and that was how Chairman Wiggins repeated it. And the last was really minor, but under item 8, Mr. Zur, I believe, actually gave us an overview of 2 city council meetings.
Yep.
Rather than 1. And so I move to approve consent agenda with those 3 noted corrections.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Faulkner, second by Vice Chair Fizer to approve the consent agenda with the 3 minor corrections outlined by Mr. Faulkner. Any discussion of the topic? Is everything good there, Mr. Zur, for purposes? Thank you, sir. With that, I'd entertain a vote. Or I guess all in favor. We already entertained a motion. Seeing all hands raised, that will pass 6-0. Thank you very much. We will jump right into, we have no unfinished business, so jump into our new business. So item 7, new business. We have 3 items. The first is case 22028, Foxwood Plaza final plat. I would invite the applicant to please come forward to present your case.
Okay. Good evening. I'm Matt Warner with Batiste Development Company here representing the developer for the project and representing Starbucks. And with me this evening is civil engineer for the project, Chase Kohler with RIC Engineering. And they have been responsible for putting together the plat, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir. Do any commissioners have any questions of the applicant of the final plat? All right, seeing none at the moment, I would turn it over to city staff for final notes.
Good evening. Thank you, sir. Tonight you have in front of you a final plat approval request for the replat of Foxwood Plaza Lot 2. The subject property is south of 58 Highway and west of Bont Drive. Current zoning for this is PUD. Total tract size for this is 4.16 acres, and you'll notice that this actually splits 2 lots, this being Lot 2 and the L-shaped remnant tract that would be left over for a future development that would come before this body as well, but is ultimately splitting these 2 lots up, and that would conclude staff report for this one.
Thank you, sir. Any members of the commission have any questions for staff? Yes, sir, Mr. Faulkner.
Question for staff. I believe I've got this to a point where I understand it, but I just want to make sure that I have it correct. So on page 5, this is previous actions. Page 5, number 7 says the Culver's site plan located on Lot 2, blah, blah, blah. And on page 6, at the very top, and this would be staff comments, number 2, replat creates 2 lots with Lot 2 for the approved site. And so if I'm understanding this correct, the Culver's site plan located on Lot 2 was initially approved April 7th, 2009. Would that be Lot 2 of the Legends, which is not the same as top of page 6, replat creates Lot 2 with Lot 2 of Foxwood Plaza? Is that
A lot to unpack there. This property has been platted several times, and so what you see in front of you for Lot 1 and 2 originally was all of Lot 2 for the original plat. And so with this coming forward and Starbucks only needing a certain amount of land, they're just replatting that. So you are correct with what you've stated. There's just a lot of history for this property, and so a lot of plats that never yielded any actual development.
I don't know that it will make a big difference going forward, but I would have found it helpful if you could have referred, like you did in number 6 on page 5, you said part of Lot 4 of the Legends. And so if it had identified that this was Legends or this was Foxwood Plaza, it certainly would have saved me some digging. But thank you very much. That's a good answer.
Any additional questions for staff or final questions for the applicant? No? Okay, I would entertain a motion to dispose of this item.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir, Mr. Faulkner.
let me read. It'll come out a little better. Sorry. I move that we accept staff proposed findings of fact and forward case 22028, replat of Foxwood Plaza Lot 2, final plat to, actually it's replat, final plat to City Council with a recommendation of approval.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Faulkner, second by Secretary Peterman, to accept the staff proposed findings of fact and forward case 22028, replat of Foxwood Plaza Lot 2, final plat to the City Council with a recommendation of approval. Any discussion on the topic? Seeing none, all in favor? Item passes unanimously, 7-0. And I will just state that Commissioner Bowie is now here, so that's why our numbers have changed from 6 to 7. Thank you, sirs and ma'am. We'll move on to item B, case number 22029, Elite Fence, final plat. At this time, I would ask the applicant to please come forward and present your case, sir.
Commissioners, I will be taking over real quick.
Okay.
Then, good evening, Matt Slish, Engineering Solutions, 50 Southeast 30th Street, Lee Summit, Missouri. And then with me is Kevin Lent as well. He is with Elite Fence, so if you have any questions on either side, we should be able to handle them. I have a real brief presentation. We have 2 applications in front of you today, one for the final plat and one for the site plan. Essentially, it's a redevelopment of the site directly to the south of the Ascend project that we had in front of you guys a few months back. So it's the, I think it's, what is it, an Eagles Lodge or whatever it is now. So the plan is to leave the existing building there, kind of refresh the front side of it, modify the parking, and put a building in the back essentially to store materials. Kevin's business coming out of Lee Summit, where he has a fencing business that works pretty much all across the metro doing all types of fencing, and so he'll have some showroom eventually inside of there, some offices, and then some outdoor storage. Are you seeing the screens now? Okay, so yeah, so the screen you're seeing in front of you, essentially you're just seeing, it's like I said, it's that remnant piece. It's about 3.5 acres sitting right there, out there on the north side of the Ascend project site. It's already an industrial zone piece. We're providing some pictures and visuals of what we're kind of existing building facility. So it has kind of an overhead awning of sorts on the front, and the east side of it that we're planning to remove, and then painting the exterior all the way around the building to try to refresh it, give it a new look to it. And then this kind of gives you representation of what we believe we're going to try to do is kind of a gray tone of some sort. We call it a dovetail color, putting some type of a brick masonry bottom, and then some kind of a lap siding product around up to 10, 11 foot range, just giving it a whole new look. Elite Fence sign then being presented on the north and east side. Landscaping then we'll be providing obviously in the north, the west, and then a little heavier on the south side near that residential development. One thing that we have worked out is we have a detention basin that we're developing with the Ascend project that we're going to try to combine. So we have one detention basin out there as opposed to two, which we think is an improvement kind of on the overall use. So we're here for any questions you may have, and Kevin is as well for the business perspective.
Thank you, sir. Any members of the commission have any questions for the applicant before we go to staff report? All right. Thank you, sir. Turn it over to staff. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, sir. And just for a reminder, this is for the final plat, so I'm actually gonna, we've swapped the order a little bit. I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth than I would for a final plat, just so I don't have to say the same thing for the site plan. So tonight you have in front of you a final plat approval request for Elite Fence Lot 1, subject property currently located at 611 East Walnut Street. Current zoning is M1 light industrial area district. Existing surrounding zoning to the north, you have agriculture off to kind of the northwest, and directly to the north is also light industrial with an insurance building and self-storage uses. To the south, you have R3A, which is the Ascend project that was just approved within the last year or so. To the east, a light industrial, which is self-storage. And to the west is you've got your Kelly's 331 and Freedom Stop. Total tract size 3.53 acres. The growth management plan identifies this area as appropriate for business park development, and the major street plan classifies East Walnut Street as a major arterial and Sunrise Drive as a classified local road. Not going to go through a bunch of the history, but just wants to kind of touch on City Council approved the property to the south being the Ascend project February 28th of 2022, and on July 19th of 2022, the Planning Commission voted to approve the site plan for Ascend. City Council approved the final plat for the property to the south, also known as Ascend, on August 8th of 2022. So a lot happening just within the last few months. You'll see here, engineering has already reviewed the project, indicated the proposed site plan complies with the design standards for the city of Raymore and recommends approval. You'll also see staff comments for the proposed bulk and dimensional standards are the same as what the UDC requires now. And then you'll also see this is essentially just a cleanup item. This was a remnant tract that once the Ascend final plat was approved, this was just the leftover piece, and so now that we've got somebody coming forward, they're just cleaning this up for a final plat. And so staff recommends approval for case number 22029, Lot 1, Elite Fence. And staff concludes.
Thank you, sir. Any members of the commission have any questions for staff or any remaining questions for the applicant? If not, I would entertain a motion. Sir?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we accept staff proposed findings of fact and forward case 22029, Lot 1, Elite Fence, final plat to City Council with a recommendation of approval. And note that I added the word final plat to the suggestion.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Faulkner, second by Commissioner Bowie, to accept the staff proposed findings of fact and forward case 22029, Lot 1, Elite Fence, final plat to the City Council with a recommendation of approval. Any discussion of the topic? Seeing none, all in favor? Passes unanimously, 7-0. Thank you. And we will move on to our third item of new business tonight, which is case 22030, Elite Fence Site Plan, 611 East Walnut Street. And once again, I turn it over to the applicant, or if we don't need that, then we can just go directly to staff.
Staff can take it from here. This is just the continuance of a site plan approval for Elite Fence, again, located at 611 East Walnut Street. A couple of things wanted to highlight. There are no specific uses, there are no use-specific standards or conditions for this proposed use. Parking, after much kind of going back and forth with the applicant, with approximately 5,000 square feet of the existing building, the use would only yield 15 or so parking spaces. However, with this proposed business, there's a lot of employees that come with this, so you see obviously an astronomical amount added, being 50 spaces along with ADA spaces as well. When it comes to landscaping, 20% being required, they're just about 23%. A lot of this is due, in fact, with the gravel that is in the back of the lot that can't really be counted for that. So before, we had thought that there was going to be quite a bit of landscaping, and after looking at it, the gravel does not count as the landscaping. Another thing I wanted to note, on the north and east side of the property, there's no screening that is required for that, but when discussing the west side, that's a type C landscape buffer, and then to the south, obviously against residential, would be a type A landscape buffer. With this being a little different than we've seen recently, it's an existing building, and so they're kind of just giving it a remodel, kind of a freshened look, and so you're not seeing your typical what you've seen for probably 20 or so years with this building. So pedestrian access is going to be directly off of East Walnut. They'll be providing a crossing that will go directly to the building. Fire district has reviewed this. The one item that they wanted to ensure, there's two means of access for this property, directly off of Walnut, and then obviously on the rear side for Don Street. If there was an emergency, they would have to back out, and so there's going to be some painting that they require along the curbing that just says no parking on that north access point. Finally, staff submits their proposed findings of fact and forwards case number 22030, Elite Fence site and plan, subject to 12 conditions as outlined below. This concludes staff report.
Thank you, sir. Any members of the commission have any questions for staff or for the applicant? Yes, sir, Mr. Faulkner.
I think my question really comes down to the back corner of this proposed site, and I think it's a gravel. I think on the prints it's labeled a construction access back there at Dawn Street. But if I was reading the maps and information correctly, that back half of the site where the new shed building goes is not asphalt, and I do see that Fire District approved the plans, reviewed and approved the plans, but I guess my question was just, was there any discussion about that construction entrance and on into the lot from that being able to support a fire truck?
I don't believe there was any discussion as far as like during the construction process of it.
Well, I
or
wasn't
just-
really worried about construction process
Or
as much
just-
as ongoing.
Or just even ongoing. I mean, I know that there's definitely some existing, especially just to the east, where there's already gravel for their storage area, and that's more or less what it's for, is going to be for materials and items of like fencing materials and such. So they did not express any concern with that.
I believe we do have other sites that actually only have one access point. This one, if I read right and remember right, had a gate with a Knox key
Correct.
box, which was part of what I assume that clearly means that that's a fire department access. Hence my question.
And that comes from the north side access. This second side access was more or less for the actual applicant itself, where they could actually do deliveries of the materials and have it be easier than going through from the north side.
And if I could add to Mr. Eppert, his explanation, when we work with the fire district, there's usually a set of triggering requirements that would trigger the need for two individual access points from the fire district, whether it's square footage for a development like this or with like a residential development number of units. If that was an access that was required by the fire district, we would have had the conversation about the design of it. The primary access, though, with this project is off 58. So as Mr. Eppert explained, this is more of an accessory entrance for the applicant itself, but the fire district does require the Knox box in the case that they would have to use it, but it is not a required entrance like the commission has seen in the past.
Sounds reasonable. Thank you.
Quick question, Commissioner?
Sir.
Okay. Type A and Type C screening. I don't have my book here with me. Do you guys remember what that is? I think one side of the building is going to be Type A and the other side is supposed to be Type C, but can you elaborate just real quick on
So
that?
type C, you're going to have a little less, it's going to be, the tree spacing is going to be a little less as far as requirements. And then with type A, you're kind of like filling in with shrubbery as well as the trees with fencing. So you've got, I believe on their type C, you've got trees that are 30 feet on center and then the fence they proposed. So definitely not as high, obviously with industrial backing right up to commercial, not as big of a deal as it is to the south side with the residential. So.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Any additional questions from the commission? If not, I'd entertain a motion to dispose of this item, please.
Mr. Chair,
Sir.
I would recommend, make a motion that the Planning and Zoning Commission accept the staff proposed findings of fact and approve case number 22030 Elite Fence site plan, subject to the 12 conditions that are outlined.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Mayor Turnbow, second by Vice Chair Pfizer to accept the staff proposed findings of fact and approve case 22030 Elite Fence site plan, subject to the 12 conditions that were outlined. Any discussion of the topic? If not, I'd entertain a motion, or my goodness, I've done that twice now tonight. All in favor? Seeing all hands, that does pass 7-0. Thank you very much. Thank you all. That will conclude our new business for this evening, which would take us to our city council report. Mr. Zur, sir.
Thank you, Chairman Wiggins. I'm happy to provide the City Council report this evening. Since your last Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there has been one City Council legislative session, which occurred on November 14th. There were no new items on that agenda. There were a number of second readings on the agenda. The only one of real importance, unless you're interested in bridge and culvert cleaning and repairs and sidewalk gaps, was the approval of a purchase of 216 South Adams Street, which will be an extension eventually of the TB Hanna Park. TB Hanna Station Park. It will be maintained in its current condition for a period of time by the City Parks Department until there's a final plan put together for the master plan and incorporating it into the remainder of TB Hanna. That'd be all I'd be able to report this evening.
Does anybody have, any other staff members have anything to add to the city council report?
Nothing further.
Otherwise, I would go into staff report. I'll start with you all.
Just one for me tonight. So it'll be the meeting at December 6th. Mr. Handyman site plan was supposed to be on this agenda. We're still working out a couple more items, and so I'd push that to the meeting on the 6th. Just remember, it's 6 p.m. as well. I'll keep saying that for a little while just to give everybody a fresh reminder. I'm trying to do that with the applicants as well because it's a bit of a change. But that should have the handyman, Mr. Handyman site plan and then a couple of final plats. So.
Thank you. Mr. Krass, anything from your department, sir? Thank you. Mayor Turnbow, anything to add to any of that? I guess you're probably...
Nope, I really don't have anything.
Would take us to public comment. I don't see any in here, but if anybody would like to come in, you're welcome to. And seeing none, I will then start with Vice Chair Pfizer on my left for commission member comments, please.
I just want to thank staff for keeping us informed and prepared, and everybody stay warm.
Mr. Faulkner.
I'd like to thank staff, and I second Commissioner Pfizer's comment about staying warm.
It's not that bad. It's hunting season. It's beautiful. Commissioner Ingert.
Just a real question / comment. Do you ever find yourselves driving through the city knowing that I had a hand in some of these activities that have been going on to bring a smile to your face? Yeah, I think so. Thank you, staff. I appreciate that.
Secretary Peterman.
Nothing tonight.
I'll actually continue down the side with Commissioner Bowie.
Nothing tonight. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. And again, it's hunting season, but I'll fourth to stay warm. Or third or fourth? Third to stay warm, all right?
Well, you always want to stay warm when you're hunting too, but Mayor Turnbow, sir.
So just kind of give you an update on the rumored landfill north of the city. So we have had an opportunity to have a conversation with, as I stated on the news tonight, with City Manager Brian Platt with Kansas City, who's adamant that the city has no plans at all for a landfill there. Our continued trepidation with that statement is that, is there someone, though? Is there someone out there that is planning such a pursuit? So Mr. Zur is in touch with an attorney that represents a potential developer for that area who has expressed an interest and actually given it the name, the Flying H Landfill, which leads us to believe that there's some legs to this issue. So regardless of what Kansas City says, and I take them at their word, Mr. Platt was very adamant this afternoon when we talked to him on the phone that there were no plans and that he felt like he could speak to his council about a potential resolution that would condemn any such plan from occurring on that site. So we'll hope that comes to fruition and that those talks still continue. We are encouraged by that open dialogue at this point, but still very cautious about where this is taking us. So Mr. Zur has a lot of work to do along with staff in pursuing this until this issue is put to rest. So I wanted to reassure you all and the people of our community the city is working very hard to get to the bottom of it and to protect our community and our community's value and development abilities. So just wanted to give you that update, and that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, sir. I'll start by saying, obviously, thank you to staff for all that you always do with these meetings, but also the diligence regarding this matter as somebody who lives within almost eyesight of this potential situation. It definitely is something of concern to myself, and I know the hundreds of other homeowners in my own neighborhood, let alone the thousands, tens of thousands of other residents here in our city. So thank you for your diligence. Obviously, our city doesn't just fly off the cuff with just random things if they don't have reasonable information. I mean, it's hard enough for some of us to get little bits of development pieces out of you guys, whether or not, we were getting a Whataburger or whatever. So obviously something to this magnitude would be held pretty closely. So thank you. We really appreciate the diligence. I obviously won't speak for the rest of the members of the commission on that, but I assume that their opinions are somewhat in line with mine. Next week, hard to believe, is Thanksgiving. It feels like it was just Halloween, but I wish everybody a wonderful Thanksgiving. If you are traveling, please be safe. Try not to eat too much turkey. Save room for extra pie. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mayor Turnbow, second by Commissioner Faulkner to adjourn. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? I got it right that time. 7-0. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Oh, no. I didn't hear that.
Well, that one was just relatable.
Sir, thank you very much.